This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Rock, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and 3 Counts.
Cover! We got a new world champion!
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and 3 Counts is the podcast meeting to the real deal, baby!
Knockouts and 3 Counts starts now.
What up, everybody? It's another Tuesday. That means this is another episode of Knockouts and 3 Counts. If you're watching us live, and if you're watching us on the podcast platforms, we appreciate you too, especially all of you guys who were checking us out last week, all the way from France. So, if you guys are watching, listening, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, please hit that 5-star review and leave us a review. Like I said, if you leave a review, I will make sure to read them live here on the show. We are back with another installment, and this one's going to be another weekend recap edition. Basically, we had a big weekend in the worlds of pro wrestling and combat sports. You had UFC 262, where we got a new lightweight world champion in Charles Dubronx Oliveira in a great performance in his knockout over Michael Chandler. And then on the pro wrestling end, we had WrestleMania Backlash and the Attack of the Zombies that apparently now have torn Miz's ACL. So, yeah, it's a lot to talk about. So I thought that it would be a good time to bring our buddy Hyden back with us. So, Hyden, how the hell you doing, brother, man?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on again. Hopefully everyone's doing well.
Hey, man, I'm doing all right. Corey, how you doing on a Tuesday, bro?
Honestly, everything was going well, and I don't know if any of you guys have been watching any of the NBA play out this year. Well, we had the play-in tournament today, and if you can see by my attire, my team just lost by like 35 points in the play-in tournament.
Actually, it was 27, but it was still a blowout. Yeah,
it was at one point it almost made it up to 40. It was absolutely terrible. So. Yeah, I was doing good until I started watching some basketball. I was doing well until I watched Charlotte Hornets completely just nosedive their chance at making the playoffs. But besides that, I'm doing okay. Yet again, just kind of, ready to keep coasting through that week, man.
Yeah, man, I'm definitely ready to get through this week already, and we're only at Tuesday myself, so I'm not mad at that. All right, well. First of all, I figure, why don't we start on the wrestling end of things? So on Sunday, we had, well, that's kind of out of order. So let's do things in the right order. Let's start with UFC 262. I've got all the card and all the results up in front of me. I just want to say as we start, like, hot damn, dude, that Edson Barbosa Shane Burgos fight might have been one of the best fights I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my god, man!
I was calling it leading up to it. I was like, watch out. I mean, I wasn't the only one, so I'm not like.
I just want to say, I told you so, Corey.
Yeah.
I just want to say, for the record, who's the one that said that Edson Barbosa was going to win?
Are we playing the "Told You So" game because are we playing pay-per-view main event opener, or are we talking the main event itself? Because if we're talking about who won,
we both picked Bernil Dariush.
So did I.
What?
So the only one that you got right that I didn't was the Oliveira pick, and I picked Michael Chandler. So you got that one right, but I picked Edson Barbosa, and you were like, "Really? You think he's gonna beat Shane Burgos?" And boy,
no, I said it was a very interesting. I literally said it was whether he was able to keep it at kicking range or punching range. That was it was like incredibly close.
I just realized, dude, shit, I was right on every fight except the main event.
Yeah, the one that I was right about. You were trying to push it in my face that night too. He's like, "Look, I told you," and then the second round happens and fucking Chandler goes out on his face, and I was like, "Oh yeah, who'd you tell what?"
Look here, guy. I didn't bet any money on this one.
Doesn't really matter. Good fights either way.
You're not kidding. I mean,
Absolutely, man. That Shane Burgos, that KO itself was a little scary in the moment, especially. It was nice to see him kind of get up and then be able to share words still after that, because it just the way he went out was kind of scary, but the fight itself was incredible, man.
Yeah, I had myself. I was debating on Burgos and Edson, but I actually had Burgos myself. Not that Edson could have won, but I felt, like you said, in boxing range. Plus, I felt he might have been the more powerful striker, so I figured he might, I don't say break Edson, but at least hit him with some bigger shots and knock him out. But either way, I think the fans won. I didn't really care. I was like, my God, it was a savage fight. I mean, they just went at it. I mean, you got to give Shane credit, because nobody takes leg kicks like that from Edson and just stands there. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't do that unless you're Khabib. Khabib's a different animal himself. But other than that, I mean, it was a crazy fight. So either way, I wish it would have ended in a decision. But hey, I can't complain about that. Glad that Shane's doing okay, and nothing. I guess health wise, nothing's wrong with him, at least from what I'm seeing. So yeah, fantastic fight. Fight of the night for sure. I mean, you can't.
I think there's no arguing that, but we skipped over. We skipped over one before I finished my thought on that one. So we got to go back after we get done talking about this fight and the nasty arm break. I don't think very many people ever picked that shit with Jacare, and if you say you picked him to win by submission, you're a liar. But I will say that in the same interview that I heard earlier with Bruce Buffer, the guy Jimmy Smith was saying that the guy who does the translating, they were saying the guy who does the translating for the Brazilians, Bruce Buffer, said that he had felt that guy's jiu-jitsu was 10 times better than Jacare. And then that night he went out and broke his fucking arm.
I mean, I'm not gonna call Bruce
talk about knowing your shit. Not only that, but I mean, think about that. That's a pretty wild statement to come out and say that he's better than a guy who's arguably considered to have had the best jiu-jitsu in MMA for years.
Yeah.
And then to not only say that, but then you go in there and snap, crackle, pop. Oh shit, it's his arm. I mean, dude, that was pretty insane, dude.
Yeah, never thought I'd see the day where Jacare gets submitted. Never in my life would I ever see him getting submitted. I mean, even at his age,
getting his arm broke, dude.
Exactly. It's like, oh my God, it was terrible. It was just awful to see. But what can you say, man? I mean, if that dude has better jiu-jitsu, then he proved it, I guess.
I mean, hey, dude. How can you call him a liar after that?
I didn't. Bruce Buffer don't lie, so I believe him.
Hey, I'm with you, dude. Like I said, there's no way you can.
The way he was able to cinch it up in just a second, too, it was incredible, man. It wasn't like he had held him in the position for long or anything like that. It was just like a quick turn. Next thing you know, Jacare was on top of him. It looked like maybe he was actually going to secure some type of position. Next thing you know, his arm's gone. Like the whole fight's just over. Not only is it over, his arm's gone.
When it snapped, it's like he didn't have a reaction.
Yeah.
He just stood there. I'm like, I would be crying. I would be a baby. I would just be in crazy pain. So shout out to Jacare for just taking that like a man. I mean, that's just crazy. But, they say he had successful surgery. He's good. What his fighting future is, that's another topic.
So
but,
that's what I was going to say. So do you think he's going to keep fighting?
Go ahead, Corey, if you want to answer that first.
I think fighting, yes. I think under the same banner or promotion, probably not. I think that's probably.
So you think he's going to get his walking papers?
I think in what we've seen in the last couple months, basically over the last year, really, with the UFC, is they're just getting rid of veterans that are on like a little bit of a skid, especially if they start to lose their name a little bit. And Jacare got a good pop from the crowd and stuff, so I don't necessarily think that's so much the case. But if you look at his record itself, I believe he's lost his last 5 and 6 of his last 7. So it's like, it's Jacare still, and I still have incredible respect for him. I mean, you've seen as soon as he came, we even started bringing it up. I'm doing the Gator.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have huge respect for him, so I hate to just say it in like black and white like that, but that's truly what I think's kind of the next step.
Yeah, and he is 41, and I mean, with the injury like that,
That's
and then
crazy, man.
Yeah, then he got knocked out, before that, pretty, viciously. So, I mean, he could be in a situation like Cerrone where you might give him one to win and then retire, but I don't know. It's up to him really if he physically feels up for it. But after, I don't know what he broke his arm. I'm not sure, but after that, it's just
a 6-month recovery time, and that means before you can even realistically get back to training. So
I could see him being released because of it, maybe going somewhere else, but I don't even see him going to any other promotion. I don't know. I could see him retiring or getting one more fight with, unranked guy, somebody that they know he can beat, and then retire.
Did you guys hear the crack of that shit though? Like, if you listen, you can just. I was like, oh, and the worst of it is he took it like a G though. He just all right, it's broke. Like, like he got his arm broke in a jiu-jitsu tournament and just stuffed his arm between his gi belt and kept fighting.
God, man, he's a tough dude, man. I don't know about any one of us here, but I mean, I wouldn't.
Look, bro, I've had my elbow popped, and that's about as close as you can get to breaking your arm without doing it. And I don't want to find out the rest.
No, I don't even want to find out any of it.
I don't
I don't want no parts of that.
Yeah, I don't want to find out how the rest of it goes.
Right.
All right, so. We talked already a little bit about Edson Barbosa versus Shane Burgos. The other thing about that knockout is that, dude, that delayed reaction. Corey, we've talked about it in past episodes, when I've talked about getting hit in the liver and how it had a delayed reaction on when I got hurt. But, dude, like, he got hit and then it was like, he had vertigo or something, the way that he started to like fall back. And it's crazy because, those are the kind of knockouts that end you up with concussions and things. But hey, man, if nothing else, what that did is that made a damn statement for Edson Barbosa that at 145, man, he ain't nothing to be played with.
Who do you guys want to see him matched up with is my question though.
At 45?
I have a name, but I don't know if they'll do it. I would like to see him and Giga Chikadze.
That was my exact one I was gonna say as well.
I mean,
like it's kind of perfect. Like they're both like.
Just the style itself to me would be a fight of the night type of fight, and someone's gonna get knocked out because I don't see that going 3 rounds or 5 or whatever potentially to go. But I don't know what's his ranking now. I'm not sure what his ranking is. If Giga is up there in ranking, but that would be a fight for me with those two. Absolutely. I have to look at the list, but that pops right up in my head with those two.
To steal his own words, because I read this in a little Brazilian article that he did translated, he actually called out Zabit as well. I feel like that would be an incredible fight as well.
Ooh. Well, if he can fight one of these days, I feel like he just disappeared off the face of the planet, but Zabit, he just hasn't fought.
Well, if you're getting called out by a legitimate top 5 or top 10, whatever he may be ranked at this point, then I mean that's the type of matchup that maybe does get you out of bed.
Oh, either one, I'd love either way. He's in for some big fight. I think him and Giga. I wouldn't be surprised if they match it up right away. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, and after that performance, man, I really do feel like Edson does still have a real path to the title, man. He honestly does. I mean, I feel like maybe him versus somebody like a Max Holloway would be a real tough match, of course. But Max is, tough for anybody. But like, his style and his quickness, I think he would be a real challenge for Volkanovski. I think he'd be a real challenge for Brian Ortega unless he was able to implement his jiu-jitsu on him. I feel like you start talking about these top echelon of guys, even like a Korean Zombie. I know he's currently matched up with Dan Ige, which I'm excited for that matchup as well.
Yeah, I actually just looked at the ranking right now, and Edson's at 9, and then Giga's at 10. So, and Dan Ige's at 8, which I thought Edson won that fight, but neither here nor there. So yeah, it either way. But
if you don't mind, read me through the remaining top 10.
So you have Holloway 1, Ortega 2, Yair 3, Chan Sung Jung 4, Calvin Kattar 5, Emmett 6, Arnold Allen 7, and then Dan Ige, Edson, Giga.
Honestly, maybe even an Arnold Allen fight. He doesn't get talked about enough, but he's.
I don't know if I like that for Edson. I don't know.
He's on such a hot streak. I feel like you kind of need somebody like an Edson Barbosa to like.
But here's my thing with Edson, and he even said it, and he's right about it because I don't normally talk about it enough. His boxing has gotten way better, which is underestimated because his boxing is very good. Like he's sharp, he's fast, he's clean, and he hits you with some good shots. He's not just a kickboxer, just kick the legs. I mean, he can box too, and he's so fast. Even at I don't know how old he is, but my God, the punch. He's just super fast with his just punches and kicks. I said, this is not going 3. I could see it going 2 or 1, but I said the way that he throws, so much power, it's just crazy. It's just crazy how fast he is. But thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, especially when you're talking about throwing these kicks and stuff against somebody with a 145 frame. If he fights,
but Giga would be perfect. That would be a kickboxing heaven match.
Yeah,
boxing match heaven. Yeah.
Yeah, he's. I really do feel like he's really turned a corner. I feel like we started to see a slightly diminished version of him at 155, and it's a huge surprise to me, to be honest with you, because I thought the weight cut was gonna do complete like the Jose Aldo thing when he moved to bantamweight. I just thought it was gonna be like a career ending, like, hey, here's my final hurrah. I'm gonna come in and maybe lose 2 fights and look sucked out the whole time. And
that's how I feel too. That's how I feel
for either of them. So it's
it's weird how you think guys that big drop down and you think they're going to do bad, and then all of a sudden you got guys like Lando Venado saying, "This is the best weight cut I've ever had. I feel so good here." And I'm like, how? How is that? You know what I mean? And Kyle can probably attest to that.
So, what's your question? Why do they feel better at a lower weight?
Well, considering how big Edson is, or Lando Venata, saying that they're even much better. Even Aldo, who's even huge for featherweight. So
the reason why you might feel better at that weight class is you might feel stronger at that weight class, because you got to realize, dude, if he's used to fighting at 155 and you're over here fighting at 145, and these guys naturally shouldn't be, really as strong as you if you're a natural 155er, man. So, for those of you who are jumping in, we're just breaking down UFC 262 before we get over to WrestleMania Backlash. If you guys checked out any of the fights, feel free to drop it in the comments. Like I said, man, it's I mean, it's different. I mean, like I said,
what I think a big part of it might end up being, honestly, is the fact that to get to that lower weight class, you have to not only weight cut, you have to start to live properly in your diet and your nutrition and stuff like that, and maybe not do as much weightlifting and stuff in the gym and focus on your build as much. And I think
Edson said that he eats super clean, and somebody asked him about his body fat percentage, and the guy's like, it's like 2%. And then somebody told him, the doctor's like, you need more fat on you, man. You need to eat more meat or something. He's like, I have a super clean diet. That's why I'm always shredded. I was like, well, good for you. You're doing it the right way. So
man, and that's the thing.
That's what I think attests to the fact that a lot of these fighters that are moving down, like you said, are actually saying that it's easier for them, is the fact that they're not going into fight week necessarily 25 pounds over or 20 pounds over or 15 pounds over. They're coming in just that 5 or 10 pounds, but their body's been already on that trajectory the whole time of projectively losing weight. So
it's fun, man. I'm glad, like guys like Aldo. I was scared because I'm like the biggest Aldo fan, and I was like, that's not good for you. I was like, I don't even want to see it. But then when I saw him fight, and I'm like, okay, I can deal with this.
Can we talk about how much of a savage Barbosa is with the fact that he split his leg open and is leaking down his whole foot, and then proceeded to, as soon as he realized his foot was bleeding, turned around and kicked him right in the face with that foot, just like kicked like,
he's
split
an
my
animal,
leg
man.
open. Wow,
he's an animal. They're both savages, and big ups to both of them, man. I see them fight every week. Just book it.
That's
I
a
don't
great
even care.
fight, man. Like I said,
Yeah.
I don't think that fight hurts Shane Burgos. I think Shane
No.
Burgos is going to be out for a little while. I think that's a, that fight, they're definitely going to be checking him for a concussion.
And considering
like
one
that.
other thing, though, and this is just me, I have to rewatch the fight. I felt going into the third, I think a lot of people felt it was 1-1 maybe. To me personally, I thought it was 1-1. I have to rewatch it again. But if that third fight, or the third round, excuse me, kind of went the way it did, I mean, it could have gone either way, maybe. I don't know. I have to watch it again. But Shane had his moments, man. He could have won.
No,
that fight
Shane
too,
was
but-
definitely doing his thing. Like, that's why I say I don't think this fight hurts either one of them.
No.
Coming out of it. I mean, obviously it doesn't hurt Barbosa, but I mean, I don't think it really hurts Shane Burgos either, because I feel like that was a step up fight and he more than held his own. Well, enough about that fight. We also had some ladies in action on that fight. Caitlin Chikagian beat Viviane Arujau by unanimous decision with the scores of 29-28, 29-28, 30-27. What are your guys' thoughts on this fight?
I was a little not surprised. I feel like I just thought like it's weird to say like you think a fight's a split decision, because that's like implying that like in your mind you don't have a clear winner, so the judges shouldn't either. But I feel like that fight was that second round where Viviane Araujo was able to just control her and ground and pound the shit out of her for like 3 minutes, and then the fact that on one of the judges' scorecards she still got a 30-27 is just like absolutely insane to me.
Yeah.
And if you're saying that she wasn't competitive in that third round or even that first round, then I don't know what fight you were watching, because I thought it was a very competitive fight.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's insane to me. Texas is widely known in the MMA community as having some wild judging, and it was on full display this last Saturday. It really was. But yeah, I thought Caitlin Chikagian did enough. I don't know if I would have necessarily nodded her way, because of that second round was just so heavy, and I just don't understand how, if you're a judge watching that on the side of the cage, that you come to the decision that she won that round. But
yeah.
Well, dude, that's like we're not going to go into it yet because we got to talk about the co-main event first. But I mean, dude, that's like in the Tony Ferguson fight, not Tony Ferguson fight, the Chandler fight. Do you know? I mean, do you know they'd scored round one 10-8 for Oliveira, for Chandler.
Even though Oliveira was on his back, almost submitted.
Right, and they scored it 10-8. So if he didn't do that, you've essentially put him down 2 rounds in a round that was very close.
Exactly.
Yeah, they both almost had finishes. I hear it a lot from a lot of the podcasts that have already came out on the Monday and stuff like that. That
same.
It's just it's terrible though, man. It really is. It's like, how do you not like weigh in ground control at all?
Why do you think I say there needs to be more criteria for judging and reffing, dude?
Well, is this like one of those clear situations where like more is better when it comes to judges? Would more opinions just outweigh?
I don't know that it's more opinions, but I feel like there needs to be more criteria as to what you have to be able to, or like a test or something, like just a basic knowledge thing, or have you watch so many fights and then see how you judge them.
There was
or
at least
something like
3
that.
fights when I watched. Maybe I didn't watch the entire prelims, but the Mike Grundy fight, whoever judged at 30-27 from Mike, you need to be fired, because that was not a 30-27. I'm sorry. Okay. And then the Chandler one where they, judged at 10-8 first round, which I didn't know until I think yesterday or today, which is absolutely crazy.
Right.
And then the Cajun fight. It like Corey said, I think Caitlin did enough. I think that third round, I think she honestly won that fight because of the third round, because she poured it on her. But again, there's no way she won all 3 rounds. I mean, from what happened in the second round, that I don't know what you're looking at. I don't know what they're thinking, or like you said, criteria. There has to be a criteria. They need to go through training. go do some amateur fights and then maybe some, mid-tier level fights, and then you work your way up to the pros instead of just, here, we're going to grab this judge and, put him in the main event because that's their money. That's your chance at a title, winning a title, or, number one contender, or just in general, your first fight. There's a lot of factors that play into that, and you're messing with people's careers. You know what I mean? So judging,
right, dude. I mean, and that's the thing. Like that, I think. Like I was saying, I think if you were to like, I think you should not either. I think you should have both. I think you should have to like, they should like have you judge like, I don't know how many fights, and then see how you judge them. And then also I think that they should all have to have some kind of training knowledge.
Yeah.
Because if you
go ahead.
Sorry,
I thought you were breaking. Go ahead.
Well, I was saying, because if you can't really understand the way the flow of a fight works, then how can you then like judge whether like in a scramble or like in a position where a guy is, maybe not landing so much damage on top, but he's working for different submissions, or maybe he went from mount to side control to knee on belly to whatever, and is throwing up all these different submissions. But because you've never really trained jiu-jitsu or know anything about wrestling, you don't understand that, because even though he's not hitting him, maybe as much, that he's not doing anything. Because I've seen many times where a judge basically discounts the guy who's doing all the groundwork.
Yeah, absolutely. I think some of the judges don't have any experience, because you can tell. I think Rogan or Cormier said it a while back. One of the judges, told him, or somebody told him, that the judges told the other judge next to him, what is that submission they're doing? What is that they're doing? Like, some of them have no knowledge of what a submission looks like, what it is, ground control.
Kind of like Adnan Verk on commentary. Well, wait a minute. That's a story for another time.
It's for Kyle. Did you bring
my quick?
He's had too much of that Weed Guy's fried chicken. He like fried, and he must have had all the knowledge about pro wrestling. But see, what happened was he had some of that Weed Guy's fried chicken, and then when he got on the air for Raw, then he just forgot. See, I knew he knew all his shit. I knew he was good like that. So that's why Corey Graves has got to remind him of like suplexes and
absolutely
all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that when we get to WrestleMania Backlash. But I digress.
Yeah.
I think what would do a huge justice, honestly, is if they literally just wrote a 3-sentence short paragraph describing why they scored that round that way. I think that would be. Let's
write an essay class for your detention. You got to write a 500-word essay.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be something long. I'm just saying a short, like, I felt as though
it's horrible, dude, and that's why I say until there's more criteria.
But
until there's more criteria, dude, this is gonna keep happening.
Like I said, a short paragraph up the judging from 3 to 5, I think would make a significant increase in properly scored fights, I guess you could say. But other than that, man, it's kind of like, it's hard to weigh somebody else's opinion. Like, even though the whole world sees it one way, it's like there's got to be more opinions, because the fact that people are still going to have fucked up opinions is what it boils down to. Some people are still going to outweigh certain things when that shouldn't necessarily be the case.
Yeah. So. One other thing before you move on, Kyle, is I was listening to Anna Conform's podcast, which I love listening to every week.
Yep.
And Ray Longo said there has to be accountability for the judges and even refs, and say, okay, let's go to a press conference, and then, people can ask them, media or reporters can ask them, what did you see in that fight that you had this person winning 30-27? What did you see that, you thought this person didn't win when 95% of the people thought, the other fighter won? But they won't do that because they're held to not say anything. And I guess they're protected in a sense, to stay away from media or to really, speak on their opinion. So if that is the case, then that's just awful. But, That's just from what I've heard. But they need to do that. Go to a press conference and sit with the fighters or sit with the media and say, this is what I thought. This is what I saw. This is why I think you lost. And then if
you can never have them sit with the media because the media ain't alive.
That's what I'm saying. They're held. They're literally, from what I listened to today, that they are literally, I don't know what the word is that used, but they're literally not liable to speak to media because of those reasons. And it's just it's like, okay, well, if fighters who lose or fighters that get knocked out or whatever can speak to media in front of the whole world, why can't you do it? You're just as responsible as they are in the cage. You're not the one fighting. You're in you're controlling their career, basically.
Well, definitely. I mean, not only that. I mean, you're basically stepping into. You got to know what you're stepping into. You know, I mean, it's different than just watching it on TV. But talking about things that we just see on TV, man. I was listening to Unlocking the Cage with Jimmy Smith today, and did you know that Bruce Buffer and Michael Buffer never knew each other until Bruce Buffer saw him announcing a fight on TV, and his dad had to tell him, "Well, that might be that's your brother." And then the crazy part is, like, he went on to talk about how, like, until he was in the military, so he had the papers for, he was gonna get adopted, right? But he had never signed the paperwork. So because this paperwork had never signed, they go, "You're not Bruce, whatever his last name is. Your name is Bruce Buffer," because that was what his birth name was. So, because his dad had him, like, right before he went into the service, and then it was kind of one of those things. So yeah, it was insane. And he talked about it, and then, like, Bruce Buffer talked about how, what am I saying? You get what I meant. Michael Buffer. That's what I was trying to say.
I got you.
Yeah. So Bruce, then when he got in his life, being the big branding guy that he is, Bruce Buffer's trying to help him market his name and all that stuff. And so that, I thought that was insane to find out that the two most notable voices in fighting as far as announcers go, the Buffer brothers, didn't even know each other, and that Bruce Buffer met him because of seeing him on a fight.
What age were they? Do you know, like, how long ago it was?
They were I think he said he was into his 30s.
Wow.
I seriously am curious if Bruce Buffer was already announcing fights, and, like, they had this, like, weird cross of paths without even knowing the fact that they were both fight announcers. Like, I feel like that's such a strange path to choose. And then the fact that, like, they're both the top of their game. It's like they were meant to do it. And then if they literally did it without knowledge that the other one was already it's just like, I wish I could connect those dots to really know that.
That's crazy, though. Wow, that's insane. Well, I'm glad they finally met. Just so long. I mean, that's crazy. You would figure, like, you see your brother in boxing and then see him and Bruce in the UFC. It's like, God, they've been doing it forever.
Well,
That's crazy.
I don't clearly, Bruce, I don't think wasn't in UFC at the time. So
yeah, I mean, whatever he was doing, I don't know what he was doing, but I'm sure he was announcing some lower level, I guess. I don't know.
Well, he's announcing the UFC now, and we still got 2 more fights left to talk about on this card, because we still got to get the WrestleMania Backlash. You had the co-main event, and I guess, the biggest question coming out of this fight is, what's next for Tony Ferguson? Tony Ferguson comes back and says he's not done, and all this shit. But I mean, dude, I think that Gaethje fight really took it out of him. Big shout out to Beneil Dariush. Good God. I keep wanting to call him Bernil off of a guy, Bernil, that we used to go to high school with, man.
Close enough.
Shit. I mean, hey, I'm trying out here, folks. But yeah, dude, like I said, Beneil Dariush almost took Tony Ferguson's leg home with him. Like, Tony was kicking with everything he had to get that leg out, and it was in there, and he really dominated that fight in every aspect. And I mean, I feel like ever since that Justin Gaethje fight, he hasn't looked the same. So I mean, real dominant victory for Dariush, but
yeah,
I don't really know where Tony goes from here. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on that fight?
Well, I think, first off, to, like, start my point, I think it needs to be said, I'm just gonna go hard on these fans. Fuck all you guys for booing Beneil Dariush. That was an incredible performance, man. He did not deserve that in one bit.
No,
I can
not at all.
understand you might have been a little upset that you didn't get to see the Tony Ferguson that you were hoping to see, but you got to see Beneil Dariush at a very high level, I thought. So for all those fans,
Absolutely.
fuck off, man.
Fuck off!
Like, for real, quit booing people that, like, put their heart and soul into this shit. And he's somebody who deserves the level of competition that he got to, and I can't wait to see what they do with him going forward.
And he wants his Tesla too, by the way. Tell Elon to give him his Tesla.
He got it.
Where's my Tesla at, Elon?
Response from Elon. It's on the way.
He did. He's like, I've been waiting 6 months. Oh, the poor guy.
But with that being said, I feel like Tony Ferguson, man, it's a steep climb if he's gonna. I don't see any.
Do you
way
think
he
he's
could
done?
get back to like title, or possibly like top 5 would even be really tough in my.
I feel
opinion.
like he's at attraction status at this point.
Yeah, I feel like realistically, if
I hate to say that because I love Tony Ferguson, dude. I love
Leon
Tony
Edwards-
Ferguson, but
if Leon Edwards beats
Nate Diaz.
Yeah, I feel like that's the matchup to make. Nate Diaz versus Tony Ferguson, and then Tony just kind of needs to. He needs to figure out something, man. He needs to. I don't know if he's just not getting up for these fights, like excitement level wise. I don't think it was necessarily the Gaethje fight took away from him. I think it was the knee replacement just before that. I think him not being able to be active Tony, because even in that, God, I'm forgetting everybody's name right now. But in the Anthony Pettis fight, he didn't look like Tony Ferguson to me. He had his moments where he was obviously able to win the fight, but I don't think he had the creativeness. I don't think he had the pop on a lot of his punches, and he just didn't bring that same spunk about him. And I feel like that Gaethje fight was just like a real clear indicator.
dude, that Gaethje fight snatched his soul out. Period.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think that was this. I don't think that was the cause, though. I think it was already a ball going downhill that got kicked. Really
Oh, it
hard.
might have already been going downhill, but dude, Tony Ferguson's never had anybody take it to him like that.
No.
But
nowhere
if
near.
you remember in that Anthony Pettis fight, Pettis almost had him out, man.
No. Here's the difference. At least in that Pettis fight, Tony Ferguson was competitive through the whole fucking thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was not competitive through that whole thing and get that Gaethje fight.
Yeah.
And if you say he was, we weren't watching the same fight.
In that second round, he almost knocked him out. He wasn't
Sure, I'm not saying he didn't have spots, but there's a difference between having a couple spots and being competitive through the whole fight. He was not competitive through that whole fight.
No, I'm not.
That's all I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying Tony looked like a hoe. Please don't mistake what I'm saying. And to all of you guys who want to say anything, tweet it at me. I ain't scared at Detroit Knockout, but don't go tell Tony that I'm over here talking shit because Tony's a Michigan boy. I'm not talking shit at all. What I'm trying to say, though, is that there was a difference in the, in the Gaethje fight. He had gotten his soul snatched out. You watch this fight that he just had. There was no point in that fight where I go and say, you know what, Tony might have had him.
No.
And all those wars that you mentioned, it was a back and forth. And Tony not only had moments throughout the whole fight, he was right in dude's face. And every fight that I just mentioned and that we just talked about out of my mouth, Tony has gotten his ass kicked.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, shout out to Beneil.
And Tony can say whatever he wants about getting back to a title, but you want to get back to a title and you lost to Beneil Dariush. What do you think's going to happen if he goes in there and fights Poirier?
God, I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was fantastic. And what Corey
Shit, I
said,
bet you Conor wants to fight him now.
We won't get it.
Although, to Conor's credit, I will say most of the time he's like, if it ain't a money fight, I ain't doing it.
Exactly. But yeah, shout out to Beneil Dariush and what Corey said. I don't know what the fans are booing at. I know Tony had a huge pop there, but the dude does what he does, and he won the fight in his own style. And if you can't appreciate that, then I don't know what to tell you. But dominant in any way, really, wherever the fight went. But shout out to Tony for not tapping to a heel hook, because his previous fight with Charles Oliveira, he was about to get his arm snatched and then he's about to get his leg snatched here. So dude's just an animal. I mean, what can you say? His toughness has never been questioned.
I always love Tony, man. But
me
I
too,
mean,
me too.
At the end of the day, Tony's getting up there too. He's in his 40s too. And
Yeah.
you talk about Charles Oliveira. We're talking about Du Bronx. We're talking about your new UFC lightweight champion.
And what you said with the Gaethje fight, and it's hard because we watched that, and it's just tough because he just got beat up. There's just no other way around it. I mean, you just literally got pieced up from the beginning to the end. Granted,
and with
he
hard
had that,
shots, too.
and he had, thank God for an empty arena, because I kind of actually didn't want to hear it, but I do want to hear it selfishly. But anyway, he had that. He did have his moment where he almost knocked out Gaethje, but other than that, it was just so one-sided. And I think when you have a fight like that, you need to take so much time off to recover just your health, your brain, your mental. It's just everything. And I think he just came back so fast that, let me get this animal Charles Oliveira on a 8-fight win streak, got dominated. Then you come back and then you fight Beneil, who's up and comer, who's got this higher level jiu-jitsu than you and can take you there or striking wise and whatnot. So it's like I'm not going to say whatever he's doing wrong, but it's just I feel like he should have taken a lot of time off after Gaethje and really just assess where you want to go, training wise or change your game a little bit. But he's always been the same, and I think Dean Thomas actually said that during the broadcast, and he said, if you guys caught it, he said his fundamentals aren't there. People are going to catch up to you, and they're going to know how to beat you. And he really doesn't have he just, unorthodox style, but he doesn't have that one. And that was something they talked about before the fight, that he had finally gotten his first head coach, but his first head coach is a boxing guy. So, I mean, I don't know, man. It is what it is. Is it too little too late, though? When I saw that, it's like, you're now training for the roads. You're now doing these things. I mean, you could have done that. I mean, I don't know that it's too late, but I mean, I think we all know that he's not making another run at the title. But talking about the title in that weight class, man, we talked a little bit about the shitty judging that went down in this fight, but judges weren't needed in this fight. Shout out to Charles Oliveira, man, because, I didn't even realize it until they were talking about it in his walkout to the fight and the pre-fight stuff. I mean, this dude has been in the UFC for a hot minute, bro. For 10 years.
And then on top of that, he had a rough run when he first started. Like I said, I wasn't the biggest fan of Charles Oliveira when he first came in, but I mean, dude, the respect you got to have for that dude, and respect for Chandler. Because I mean, Chandler got knocked out, but let's not forget Michael Chandler fucking rocked Oliveira's world in the first round.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, dude, he was sitting down on them punches and playing bongos on his head for a minute.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to be like, dismissive of what Oliveira did, but let's not forget that Chandler, went in there and did his thing. But I mean, what a way to end the night, and what a way to crown a new champion. I mean, I guess my question out of this is, first of all, I guess, what are your thoughts on the fight? But what do you think that this makes Oliveira the number one lightweight in the world, being that Poirier wasn't involved in that fight?
Corey, you can go ahead and answer that first.
So, does it make him the proven champion? In my opinion, no. Does it take anything necessarily away from the fact that he is the rightful belt holder? In my opinion, kind of, a little bit. I feel like a lot of the fans feel like Poirier should be the one that should have been fighting for the belt, and because of the fact he didn't get the win over Poirier, it does slightly diminish from the fact that, it's not necessarily undisputed, I guess you could say. But performance on the night, in my opinion, you can't take a single thing away from.
No,
not at all. No.
The fact that he was able to go in there, it was really, I believe it was DC that said it on the DC and Hawani show that broke it down in a real good way. It was an accumulation of Charles Oliveira's career just on display, but played out like a story throughout the night.
Yeah.
He fought through adversity, came back, had his moments where he was winning, then fought through the adversity, was nearly finished, had to pull guard just to try to survive, and then comes out in the next round just guns blazing. Just a whole different Oliveira, and just completely lands that left hook or right
His
hook.
striking looked pretty, dude.
Yeah,
Mhm.
he's stepped up his game entirely, and it's just his
And that's the thing. Nothing was out of place, and he had something that I talk to you about all the time, Corey. Again, why, like having, those tight, having your hands where they're supposed to be. Like, I mean, he was never out of place, never even in a spot really once he got his wits about him for Chandler to get him. I mean, obviously he rocked him in the first round. But I mean, this is a dominant win for him. As to your point about, does it diminish what he did? Okay. Does it diminish it for right now? Yeah, maybe, but at this point, I don't think there's a single soul that can really argue that whoever the one is that's going to fight the winner of Dustin and Connor needs to be Oliveira. I think he definitely put some respect on his name. I mean, he got a 75 grand bonus plus whatever he got behind closed doors. So, I mean, like I said, it's definitely a big thing. We're going to have to see how the UFC markets him because Oliveira is not the biggest talker. So, we're going to have to see, what they do with him as champ. But I mean, all in all, I think UFC 262, delivered for a card that kind of got hit because of the Nate Diaz fight, getting dropped or postponed. Jack
Hermanson. I was looking forward to that one. Yeah,
that's going to be a banger.
That's on Saturday, so I'm not mad about that. So.
I know. I'm glad they were only moving it back 1 week, but that did, in my eyes, take away from the paper.
Yeah, and to answer your question here, Kyle, before we move on, and I feel like I think a lot of people know that Dustin is I don't want to say uncrowned champ. You know what I mean? Other than Charles Oliveira, you say he's the best lightweight, but I mean he's got the belt. Do I think he's the best lightweight on the planet? I still give that to Dustin. I'll be honest. I love.
I'm
Dustin
not arguing that.
I'm
not arguing that. But
I'm just answering your question from my opinion. I'm not.
Yeah.
But
sorry, my bad.
No, you're fine. No, you're good. Charles is the champion, respectfully so. He earned it. He got the title. You're not going to say no to that. I have a feeling that belt's going to change hands quite a bit here and there because it's full of sharks and full of animals, but. Seeing Charles and the last time we saw him lose was when, he fought Pelfolder here in Detroit and we saw it. And I said, I've always liked him. I just felt he's been so up and down. It's like a seesaw. He goes up, he goes down, he goes up, he goes down. It's like, you're good. I think, your jiu-jitsu is already there. That's already set. His striking got a lot better. I don't know what happened.
But I think, I think it's just maturing,
Yeah. I don't know how old he was when he got here. What is he now? 31, 30? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's been fighting since he was 18, 19.
Yeah, so I think his striking has just gotten so much better, and I think he just knows how to be in big moments now, in big fights. He's been there, done that. He's fought Max Holloway and Cub Swanson. Now he's fought Tony, and then he fought Kevin and Lee. And it's like, okay, you build that momentum, so you find all the bigger guys that, okay, I'm fighting a former Bellator champ. Everyone's going to come in here and get the belt. I don't think so. This is my home. This is my title, and I'm going to show you. So I had Chandler winning, at least in my opinion, if I had to make a bet by knockout. I think a lot of people did. But was I surprised that Charles got him? No. Was it that early? I was surprised a little bit because I feel like if it went down to like the third, fourth round where Chandler tends to slow down a little bit, I think he can catch him. But God, that left hook was clean. I was like, oof, that was just.
And he was stalking him down too. So I mean, like I said, great performance from Oliveira.
Absolutely.
One thing before you jump out, my takeaway from the night though was that emotion when he got crowned that belt, when he got it wrapped around his waist. Man, you could just see him running around the octagon, getting blood on Dana's head, yelling in Joe Rogan's face, and
He didn't even let Joe Rogan ask a question. He just took the mic and just started speaking. I was like, you're hyped when you just don't even let Joe just ask you anything. He just Joe's like, okay, here, take the mic, and he just, whatever he said in Portuguese. But yeah,
when you pour out that kind of emotion, I think you gain a lot of new fans.
Oh, yeah.
You had alluded to, Kyle, of the fact of maybe like the UFC is going to have to maybe market him in a special way or something like that. I feel like he did a very good job of marketing himself in that exact moment of just letting out the emotions and just letting it go. And we got to see a side of him where it was just pure happiness and excitement. It reminded me of just the pay-per-view last where we got to see Rose and her hands were just tremoring while she got, wrapped with the belt again. It reminded me, it was really reminiscent of that. It was just
and he's joining Brazilian legends like Aldo and Dos Anjos and Verdum and Anderson, and now you got Figueiredo and Nunes. I mean, Brazil, I don't know why people think this in podcasts I've listened to, they're thinking that Brazil was on the downside. Brazil will never be on the downside. You will always have some champion there or some top contender there. So it's crazy. Brazil is on top again. So I can't hate on that.
No. All right. Well, that was the end to Saturday. We also had WrestleMania Backlash, which went down on Sunday. Hyden, where do we start with this?
You want to start with zombies? I don't know where you want to go with this. It's up to you, my man.
Well, before we get to the shit show that was the zombies, I didn't know if I was watching Call of Duty or fucking what's the other show?
Walking Dead.
That's it. I didn't know if that's what I was watching or. Oh my god, dude! So
that shit was so corny.
It was.
When they tried to do it during the UFC broadcast sponsoring the event, and then when they tried to do it in the WWE event the night following, it was just, both of them were just terrible, man.
Dude, what's crazy is people were all pissed and are tweeting Batista, and he's like, why the fuck are you tweeting me? He's like, I'm on a plane right now. He's like, you need to be tweeting Vince about this. Literally, he's like, you guys are all tweeting me. He's like, I'm not even watching it right now. So the guy who's in the movie isn't even watching it right now. So that was kind of crazy. But let's talk a little bit about what we saw in the show that really stuck out and what we saw from Raw last night. I mean, it looks like we haven't really seen the end to Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre. I'm not mad at that. I think Drew should stay around the title picture. But at the end of the day, hey, it also is a good way to, in any good story, I feel like you got to have a good guy. You got to have a bad guy. You got to have a guy you want to see him get his ass kicked. And you got to have a guy that, that everybody wants to see win. But that being said, I don't know that Bobby Lashley can ever be that guy because so many people were happy that he finally got his run. But in this match, I feel like he really kind of stepped out and got to play that heel role. But these three big ass dudes beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah, they did. Absolutely.
What were your thoughts on that match, Hyden?
Actually, probably the one that I was really looking forward to the most, just because triple threats are always fun. You got more than just, a singles match. You got another element to it. I thought it was very physical. That was entertaining from beginning to the end. When they wrestled outside the ring and the LED board, and Braun Strowman's going crazy and just dominating at one point. Then Drew comes in and Bobby Lashley's out the picture, and it was crazy. I do like the the storytelling you can say in it. Overall, the ending was, I thought it was pretty cool. When I actually just watched the match today, and I was like, Bobby Lashley comes out of nowhere, throws Drew out, and then does the thing with Braun. I was like, that's classic. I love it.
Let them do all the damage. You already hit him with your finish. Drew hit him with his finish, and then just throw him out. Get the 1, 2, 3 right quick, and we're sitting pretty. And Bobby Lashley still got the title. I don't know, man.
I thought it was a good match. I thought it was a good match for what it was. And when you add Braun in there, it's going to be physical because the dude's a massive human being. So, something crazy is going to happen with it. But yeah, I think putting Drew in that picture. I hope it doesn't get stale for a lot of people, seeing the same thing all the time. But it's fun. It's like those two together is just a fun match. So I can't complain about it really.
No, the stuff between Bobby and Drew's been good. Go ahead, Corey.
That was going to be my actual complaint on it, is like from the kind of outside in. And like we had preference, I didn't get to watch the whole event, but I did watch the highlights. But from the outside in, man, how many times are you going to run that match? I get that you added the Braun Strowman element. So like you said, it kind of threw a little different mix in the pot. And maybe for the more hardcores, I can understand how that match would be good and entertaining, because for two big men, they do go on and put on good shows, especially against each other. And I'm sure once they continue to kind of build up that, that chemistry wrestling on the mat, there'll be even more entertaining matches. But from the outside in, man, how many times are you going to run it within the last like 2 months? It's like, it seems like they just keep piling on that same match. And it's like, it kind of from the outside in makes it to where Kyle and stuff always says, like, it makes it less entertaining, honestly, when you're just running the same match.
Yeah.
Back and forth,
But I mean, Corey, that to play devil's advocate in this instance, I would argue that the triple threat was one of the better matches on the whole card.
It was.
Yeah, from the highlights you could tell too, and that's what, like I said,
and that's why I'm saying,
complaining necessarily about like it's hard to from the outside to gather interest for a match that you've seen so many times, especially.
I got you on that. Yeah,
I agree. I'm not saying they need to go somewhere else, but that's the thing. They keep banging with it. And I think, from what we saw the following night on Raw, I think it's clear that, we're not done with Drew and Bobby yet. We'll have to see where they go. Another match that stuck out to me on this card, because they beat the shit out of each other. But I really don't know what they're doing too much with the one guy when we talk about our United States title match between Sheamus and Ricochet. That was a hell of a match, but man, Sheamus is a hoss, bro.
Yeah. He's that dog, man. You got that dog in him.
That's the thing. Like, anyone that wants to say, oh, wrestling's fake or wrestling's choreographed or any of those kind of things, just do me a favor and watch a Sheamus match, because Sheamus beats the shit out of whoever's in the ring with him.
And I thought he legitimately really hurt his leg. I was like, oh no, let's not have this again. It's like, oh jeez. He probably did in some way, but nothing major, I hope. But yeah, he was holding his leg. I was like, oh boy, this is crazy. That man's just an animal.
So that was one of the better matches. The thing is, Ricochet has really been on main event and things like that for a long time now. I don't really know where he goes from here. I hope maybe that this match can, put him in front of Vince and, show him what he's got, what he's capable of.
Absolutely.
But let's face it. Ricochet has really been on the back burner as far as, WWE TV goes.
That's true.
Another match that really, we're clearly going way the fuck out of order on this, but another match that really stuck out, and I'm not surprised at all, because I've sung both of their praises till I'm blue in the face on this show, but you had Bianca Belaire versus Bayley, which, in my opinion, you've got two of the best female talent that they have in that whole company, bar none. And Corey, this is one for you. You watching WrestleMania, you were like, is this girl all talk, because all they had her do is talk? Bayley's one of the best they got, period, bro.
Mm-hmm. And I was able to see that, like I said, in just the highlight video, man. She made the match very entertaining. I feel like Bianca Belaire still kind of seemed like, in my opinion, like the star, I guess you could say, of the match. But
she's supposed to be, because she's the champ. But
yeah, but it was, from what I had seen, it looked like a very entertaining match. That seemed like the type of one that I would like enjoy watching. That's the type of stuff.
This is why we need to get you on these pay-per-views, bruh. But hey, Hyden, what were your thoughts on Bianca Belaire versus Bayley? And for those of you that are joining the stream, like I said, we are talking about WrestleMania Backlash. We're currently talking about Bianca Belair, the EST of WWE versus Bayley. If you guys checked out any of WrestleMania Backlash, please feel free to let us know in the comments, even if you want to just shit on the zombies, which we'll talk about zombies in a little bit.
Were that aiming toward me because you guys just went,
Yeah, I was aiming it at you. What were your thoughts on Bayley versus Bianca Belair?
A good back and forth match. The ending was pretty fun. I won't lie about that. That was pretty cool. Bayley obviously shows her talent there. I'm not her biggest fan, but talent wise, she can wrestle. Obviously, she's been in huge moments for most of her career. But yeah, it's a good thing to see Bianca wrestle after WrestleMania because obviously been a little while. So that was fun. Yeah, good match overall, and I want to see how they move forward with Bianca and what they do with her. Who would be the next person to continue with Bayley somehow, with another match with how this one ended. They'll probably try and do something else to where, she'll redeem herself, I guess. I'm not sure if I'm putting it correctly, but yeah, overall good match. I can't really complain about it. I like Bianca. I like watching Bianca. I think she's
oh, dude, I think she's going to be one of their stars of the future. I mean, and I would go as far to say, you've heard me say this about Charlotte. I'll say the same thing about Bianca Belair. If you want to talk about overall athletes, we're not talking about male. We're not talking about female. You want to talk about best pound for pound athletes in the WWE. Bianca Belair is in the top 5 of everybody's list, or you're not being objective.
Oh yeah, no, I mean she
picked up Otis's ass at 320 pounds, put his ass on her shoulders, and carried him around the ring and squatted him
fairly easily. I mean,
squatted him.
Yeah. And Otis is a huge person himself, so it's
he was pushing 330.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my god, she's strong. I think she's
carry him. You can't say that. I mean, I'm sure he helped her, whatever. She's a woman and picked up a 330-pound man and carried his ass around the ring.
It doesn't matter if he helped. It's like saying, okay, well, Braun Strowman let Brock Lesnar hold him, but he's still carrying him. It doesn't matter. He's still carrying him on top of his shoulder. That's the 385 pound
and not to mention, she wasn't walking all like super slow. She was moving pretty quick with him around the ring.
Yeah, and she's a track runner, right? I think like a
she was a track star. Yeah. She was a CrossFit star.
Yeah, so athleticism, her looks, her swag, her entrance,
she's definitely
everything. Yeah, absolutely.
Are you guys trying to say she's the EST? The EST?
The EST of WWE. Yeah, I think that's a moniker that could definitely stick for her. The EST definitely did her thing at WrestleMania Backlash. We talked about most of the high points to this show. Son of a bitch. Why did we need the zombies? Or at least if we were going to have the zombies, why couldn't the zombies have come in after the motherfucking match was over? That's all I want to know. Because
I can't answer that question for you.
How does this help anybody in that match?
When John was saying that, I thought it was just a joke. They play him as like a funny guy with sense of humor, and then they show zombies. I'm like, oh no, I'm like they're really doing this. I was like, oh god, it's so weird. And then I just watched it and it said, it's. I don't know. I understand you're promoting the movie, which I can't wait to watch. But again, keep that away from wrestling, man. I don't even want that near there.
Here's the thing, though. And then you hear that Miz got hurt, right? Miz tore his ACL. Now, I pray to God that was in the match. Please let it have been in the match. But if it comes out that happened because of those zombies, dude, if I'm the Miz, I'm mad as shit.
I think I read something that it was a move, I don't know, Damien did that landed on his leg or something like that. I don't think it was the zombies. I think it was like sometime during the match. That's what I read again, but it could be wrong.
I mean, with a guy like the Miz, dude, I have no doubt in my mind he's going to come back fine. Yeah. But my bigger question out of this is, what happens to John Morrison from here?
I don't know. I don't think you can really. Do you put him as like a singles championship contender?
I don't know where. Like, I keep hearing people say mid card. Okay, when John Morrison left WWE, you're talking about a guy who was AAA champion, Impact champion, Lucha Underground champion. He was champion everywhere he went. And then you bring him back here, and I would even argue that before his last run in WWE ended, I would argue that he was on par to be at least going towards the WWE Championship before he left WWE. So I just feel like, in a time where you're trying to establish new stars, why not use a guy who has a pedigree like John Morrison, and, all this talk about, the husband and wife stuff like they have with Montez and Bianca, look at what you got down the road with that. You could have John Morrison and Frankie Monet show up on your TV on SmackDown or Raw, and that could be just as dope because you've got two veterans. So, I mean, there's a lot you could do with John Morrison. I hope that we can see some more of it because let me tell you, in my personal opinion, and Hyden, I guess this question's a little more for you.
Mm-hmm. Look,
dude, what they've done with John Morrison since he's come back to WWE has not been my favorite.
No, and our other friend Kyle said the same thing where he's just his sidekick, and he's just there to be there and help him out. So,
well, they're stuck in where he was when he originally came in.
Yeah, and it's just you kind of got to break out of that. And I mean, the man's talented, obviously. He's been around for God knows.
And they know that, or they wouldn't have brought him back all these years later.
Yeah, so I mean, you can potentially put him in for a championship run, or at least do a singles run because Miz ain't gonna be around for at least a year.
Title or the Intercontinental title,
because Miz is out torn ACL. You're out for the year. That's done. You don't want nothing to do with that. He's out. So put him in for a singles contender, like you said. He's on Raw. Sorry, I thought it was a SmackDown. So yeah, U.S. title or whatever other championship he can. I mean, it would be fun.
I mean, hell, why don't you finally give him a shot towards the world title? Maybe not have him win it because I don't think he's the guy to take it off Bobby Lashley. But then again, hell, they had great matches in Impact. Why can't they have him here in WWE? I mean, they're both bigger veterans now than they were then. So, realistically, I don't really see any reason why you can't do that.
I think they will. I think you'll see soon enough that he's going to be, singles run and then, potentially make a run for something. I don't want them doing like a, 24/7 type championship or just put him in there. That would be kind of funny, but that would just be a little bit ridiculous too, considering who he is. He's been around for so long. It's like, that's how you treat him. You want to put him in a title that means nothing. What I mean? It's just,
speaking of people that have been there for a long time and how it impacted matches before we get to the main event. What were your thoughts on, the Charlotte versus Rhea versus Asuka deal? Because to me, this just further illustrates one of the issues with WWE storylines, at least on Raw. Like, I'm a big Rhea Ripley fan, but I didn't understand why the hell she just got to walk in and face Asuka for the title at WrestleMania. Now she beat her. Now Charlotte comes back. Hey, Sonya, I want to be in the match. Now Charlotte's in a triple threat. You know what I mean? Like, there's... Make me give a shit. Not that wasn't a good match, because those three are arguably three of the top women you have in that company, but I don't know. What were your thoughts on the women's triple threat?
Oh, me. I thought, sorry, on my Corey. He didn't watch the whole thing. Sorry, I keep forgetting. It was a good match considering it was the beginning, of the card. I like that, right, the first match of the card. A good match overall. I think you can see that they are trying to make Rhea, kind of the star of the women's division. Obviously, when you have Charlotte there, that's pretty difficult, considering what she's done. The winner of the match didn't, I guess, surprise me as much. I actually, if I had to bet on it, which I think you can these days on wrestling too, I thought that Charlotte would have won that, considering, she come back and put herself in the match. But I
feel like they're changing Rhea up, man. Like,
yeah,
you talk about making her the star. That's not the same Rhea Ripley that we saw in NXT.
No, that's what I'm thinking. I think they're trying to in some way. To kind of.
I feel like they're trying to put that main roster spin on her, and I mean, like Bully Ray was talking about on Busted Open. Which, if you're a fan of Busted Open, I mean, you got to stay tuned to all those social medias that you see there in that bottom right hand corner.
Yeah, I think what they want to do is add something a little new instead of just having Charlotte there all the time. Like we.
Well, right, and I get that, but what I was gonna say is something that he said is even if you notice like the little things, you notice Rhea's hair was like way different. They had her way more dialed up than Rhea ever really is.
She's more of a rocker.
Right. She's always like the tough, badass tomboy chick. Like, and they had her more dialed up this week. Not that it looked bad. I mean, hell, I've said this for everybody to hear on the show. I mean, look, dude, everybody that's all scared, women who have got some muscle to you, I think you're
You don't have big muscles like she does.
Hey, bro, look, I am not opposed to any of those things. Like, I've seen both of those women in person, and they're beautiful.
Yeah,
so
I don't know what they're gonna
I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah, no, I can't disagree with you. I don't know what they're going to do with Charlotte moving forward. Is she going to stick to the same storyline with her and Rhea until she wins? Or
I think they're definitely going to try to run that Charlotte and Rhea thing back because, I mean, arguably at last year's WrestleMania, that was one of the best matches on the card. I just wish they could get some more continuity with the storylines. And my big thing out of this is I just hope that Asuka doesn't end up getting screwed. You know what I mean? Like, Asuka is such a good talent, and I feel like sometimes they just make her like she's the good person to throw in there to have a match and things. And it's like, that shit's just crazy to me.
Do you see any new, I guess, women added to the title picture at some point? And if so, who do you think?
New women added to the title picture?
Like, at least not just Asuka, Rhea, and Charlotte. You can add, I don't know, somebody else like Liv Morgan or something.
They don't have anybody built up right now that I see that could really fill that spot. Okay. To be honest with you. I really don't. I mean, they're going to have to build somebody else. I mean, and talking about that, I really hope that they can use the women's tag team titles to really, build somebody up who's like the OG and the rock of the overall WWE women's division. And, Tamina and Natty getting the women's tag titles from Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. I mean, Tamina, she's been with WWE 10 years and that's her first title.
Oh.
That's a crazy thought, and to think that she's that good, so think about that. That's who I
did like before they put her in the tag team. Sorry to cut you off, with Shayna Baszler. I'm a fan of hers.
Oh, dude, Shayna Baszler was amazing in NXT.
She even when she came to Raw, I was like, oh, she might get the belt from Becky. I was like, oh, that'd be great, but it didn't happen.
But dude, I just hope now that this can be the clean break for Shayna, like you're saying. Now
that's what I'm saying.
Lost the title, have her just flip out and beat the shit out of Nia. That's what I want to see. Have her flip out and beat the shit out of Nia. Now that they've already had their rematch. I mean, have her beat the shit out of her, and then you got a Becky Lynch who's going to be returning soon. Let them pick up where they left off.
Add like a fatal
Shayna went all werewolf on her ear, before Becky got pregnant. Like with the full facial, with the mouth full of Becky's blood. Like, I hate your ear, bitch. I hate your ear. But yeah, man, like I said, it was that would be the perfect thing to put Shayna back in there, because
if you add her, you could do like a fatal 4-way with those 4 women.
Fuck a fatal 4-way. You need to do something to really put Shayna back on the map. I think putting Shayna in there with Becky, it's a good thing to kickstart Shayna or Becky back, re-elevate Shayna. We can see that. But talking about that, you get to the main event of WrestleMania Backlash. You had Roman Reigns retaining the title against Cesaro, which in reality I don't really think was too much of a surprise. But again, I think Cesaro finally got to do what we've all been saying for so long and proving that he can go with guys like Roman Reigns. And I think Cesaro and Roman Reigns really put on a great match. I don't know where we go really with the Jimmy and Jey Uso thing. Hyden, what did you think of that match? And where do you think we're going with the Usos outside of here?
So again, I've been saying this. I am a big fan of Roman since the beginning. Hence, far be it what other people say. I love this heel for him. I love the music, which I talked to you about.
Great.
I love his character, tribal chief thing. It gets me hyped. Like, I still want to buy one of his shirts, which I haven't bought yet. But it's overall, it's made him a better wrestler. I think, not that he wasn't a good wrestler in the beginning, but it's made him even better. And the match itself was great. I mean, it delivered on the main event spot. Considering Cesaro's been around for God, how long in the business? Considering that's his first main title shot. So
he's been in there 10 or 11 years. That was his first title shot.
Yeah, both put on a great performance, and
world
both had
title
their
shot.
moments. Yeah, both of them had their moments. And it was just a one-on-one match. Nobody interfered. Nobody got into it, which is a clean slate, fair match all across the board. So Cesaro did show that, hey, look, I've been here a long time. I can hang with the best of the best, which he can. Nobody, said otherwise.
Well, WWE sure as fuck seems to have not always thought that, because I mean,
it's terrible. But
look, dude,
think
I
about
mean, that guy should have been there for a
so.
while, but I mean, I think he got a fair shake at the spotlight now. I don't know if we're gonna see him, maybe stay in the title picture for a long time after that, but I really hope that at least he's gonna stay in that top tier.
It was physical, and you could see the story there. He just wouldn't give up. Roman got frustrated, put him in a guillotine, got up from that too, and Cesaro had his moments, and then Roman came back and ground and pounded him and, choked him out. So I like the MMA element there a little bit. He's added to his game, which is nice. So, no, overall, it was.
Although when he does his guillotine, you can totally see he's sitting up off the hip. Like, I'm a guillotine snob because I happen to be good at those.
You should tweet him at that. Be like, this is how you do it, my friend.
You know what? And you know what he'd tell me? The millions of dollars in my bank account say I'm doing it just fine. You fucking.
He would probably tweet you, acknowledge me, and just leave it at that.
Bow down or some shit. Bow down to your tribal chief.
Right. But no, it was
man.
a great match overall, man. I love it. Roman is that guy, man. I just love his character. I love watching him, man.
Just a preference on that match, because that was one of the ones I actually kind of did more research on itself. Roman Reigns just still is that man. I don't see him really going anywhere, would be my sum up of that match. I feel like as Cesaro, correct?
Yeah.
I feel like he looked great, but I feel like it's never really, from the matches that I've seen of him, his performance or anything that's necessarily held him back from being in this position.
Never has been. It's just the personality issue.
I don't necessarily even think it's necessarily the personality, because that whole gaunting man of strength got the character,
the Swiss Superman.
Fine. I think he just unfortunately just doesn't have that look. Roman Reigns has that look of somebody who should be a top wrestler. And I feel like Cesaro, even though he's got the build and the strength and stuff like that, he's able to perform beyond expectations. He just doesn't have that a girl wouldn't rate him a 10. He wouldn't he just doesn't have that that it factor. And I feel like that's why he maybe has never made it to this position. But that being said, he did everything he could with that position. I thought it was a great match on both guys' end. So
I could see that.
I agree, and I think that was a great way to end the show. I mean, I think Cesaro really kind of got a chance to show where he shines. Where he goes from here, who knows? I'm really more interested to kind of see how this whole thing with the Usos plays out. I mean, if they could get the tag titles back on the Usos with Roman having the belt, I mean, dude, that would be like the takeover on SmackDown.
The tribal takeover.
Hey, dude, I'm here for it. I think that shit would be dope.
That would be awesome.
I'm here for it. I think that shit would be dope. You know what else is going to be dope? Obviously there were some things that we didn't like on WrestleMania Backlash, but before we get out of here, you know what's going to be dope? We're talking about weapons. We're talking about Swiss Supermans. We're talking about all these things. Well, let's talk about the weapon of ass destruction. The Woad is making her return back to Knockouts and 3 Counts this Thursday, along with Devin. Will be back with us this Thursday as we are going to be talking to the Woad, fresh off of her match at Mission Pro Wrestling MPW Locked and Loaded, which Knockouts and 3 Counts were the proud sponsors of. So if you missed it, Go check that shit out on Title Match Network and tell them Knockouts and 3 Counts sent you. Gonna be a lot to talk about. I want to talk to her a little bit about some of the things that we heard from Faye Jackson in her interview with past guests of the show, Kel Dansby from ESPN, and then Andreas Hale of the Corner Podcast and Wrestling with Stereotypes, where they did that interview. So there's plenty of for us to talk about. Plus, we just get to have Devin's big fucking face back on the screen with us. So it's gonna be a good time. Make sure you're here Thursday at 9 p.m. Hyden, I want to thank you for coming and joining us again.
Pleasure as always, my friend. Thank you.
Like I said, I appreciate you, Corey. We survived another one. And again, if you've listened through this and listened to all of this, if you're listening to us on any of the audio podcast platforms, if you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, please take 5 seconds of your time, hit 5 stars on that rating, leave us a review. And if you leave us a review, I will shout it out and you'll see it on the screen on the next show. So until next time and in the in-between time, peace.